show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching the channel, what we do here is we discuss everyday, but not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have a much smaller channel called Latina Diaspora, where I discuss issues regarding to Latinos residing in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. Good evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. And let me just let everybody know that my friend Dreamy has her YouTube channel where she discusses issues regarding the mixed race community. So I'm going to ask that you show some love to her and check out her channel and subscribe. The link to her channel is in the description as well. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already been a supporter from, whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined. I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. You're quite welcome, Creamy. Thank you very much for stopping by. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you're not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on a playback. So as you can see by description of the thumbnail, the topic for tonight, when it is your time. So what I'm going to talk about when it's your time to retire, okay? Because sooner or later, those of us who are working will leave the workforce and we're going to live the final years of our life. Hopefully, it'll be well prepared. Hopefully, it'll be comfortable lives where we'll spend a great deal of time, doing other activities. But before we get into the main topic, I'm going to bring up a situation where it's time for that. What the heck this is? Just give me a moment. Okay. Dreaming when it comes to retirement age, it varies. Okay. For example, if we're talking about Social Security, the earliest that you can apply is age 62. And it all depends what year you were born. But I'm going to get into that. Now, you're probably wondering, who is the latest knucklehead to join the what the heck this is? This is what I'm referring to, the newest op. His name is called Mr. Okay. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, okay, if you've been watching Miss Elite lives, this person is a troll, who constantly trolling people, and then he's been a thorn to certain content creators, trying to false um, claims of community violations and things of that nature. So, as a result of his misdeeds, he have had several of his channels deleted off of YouTube. So now this person became a double loser because not only has been deleted from YouTube, but he also been deleted in Rumble, which is like, how the heck you get yourself deleted from Rumble? I mean, really, you have to. I mean, they're the type of people that you can say whatever and they'll let you stay on. How the heck do you get kicked out of Rumble? Yes, hit the like, people. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help with the algorithm. Now, check this out. On a couple of occasions, this immature, boyish, weak incel actually have the nerve to say to me and question whether or not I'm legal. Okay. Yeah, it's my experiment exactly, Trina. When you get yourself kicked out of Rumble, that's speaking a lot about how pathetic you are. Okay. Now, so you can say whatever you want about me, and I've been a content creator for for about 4 years. You know how many times my channel's been deleted? Zero. And look, we have the 18th letter. Good evening. Long time no see. See, us folks, this person's been going on talking about saying that I am undocumented. First of all, just because I have a Spanish name doesn't make me undocumented. And in fact, Puerto Ricans have been given U.S. citizenship for over 100 years. Okay, but not only that, he's talking about trying to get ICE to investigate me. Really, really. Um, I'm gonna. My advice to this fool is, first of all, get therapy. Please get on your meds, okay? Because you're making a complete jackass out of yourself. Good evening, Alexander Brennan. I think this is your first time here. Thank you very much. I'm talking about our favorite number one incel, Mister. And he's going to get ice after me now. I mean, all I got to say is this. Bless his heart. Mister, do yourself a favor and everybody else. Get therapy to deal with whatever trauma, whatever. And and devote time to your so-called fiance. Okay? Unless you're married, unless you're engaged to your left hand or your right hand, if you know what I mean. Well, with that being said, we're going to continue with my in my words segment. Well, okay. How quickly this year has gone by. Okay, we're approaching the end of April, so of course we're gonna be, May's coming, so of course we'll all be thinking about Mother's Day. Okay, so that's the day when we acknowledge all the mothers, whether it be the biological mothers, whether it be the surrogate mothers, whether it be those who've been a mother figure. Um, for many of us, it's a time to spend time to show our love to our mothers. For some people, this is a bitter time. It's a bittersweet time because unfortunately there are people who are estranged from their mothers. And in the case of myself, it's gonna be approaching 5 years since my mom passed away. So it's bittersweet. But what I do is just remember the sweet memories of my mother and the fact that who I am today is largely due to my mother's upbringing. She was the one that installed the values that I carry today, which is treat others as I wanted to be treated, be temperate, be God fearing, and things of that nature. Yes, I understand that 18th brother, and my condolences um, towards your loss. Um, but the thing that does help me to deal with this is the fact that my mother lives in my heart, and to all those um, who their mothers are no longer physically alive, the best way to keep her memory alive is to remember all the positive things, all the positive moments, and all the life lessons that she taught you. Okay. And if you really want to honor the memory of your mom, strive to be the best version of yourself, no matter what. And believe me, your mother, whether it be your biological mother, whether it be your grandmother, whether it be aunt or whatever, or whatever, what great lady that served as a motherly figure, she'll be smiling from heaven, knowing that you have become the best version of yourself. So, with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to opine and get on the panel and to discuss the topic regarding, you know, retirement and preparation, you may do so. Thank you very much, Dreaming. Now, as always, if I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you came up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash anything inappropriate, preferably talking about genitalia, which would cause the people YouTube to take down the stream. Okay. And just for everyone's understanding, Mr. has been banned from my platforms, both of them. So so I'm gonna ask my mods if you see Mr. Okay, and the last time that he popped up, he had this avatar look like a scary clown. Block him. Okay. Now getting back into the now when you think about retirement, people tend to think about it as they get close to to the time that you retire. Now the question is, how old you have to be to retire? Now that's not that's not such a definable definition because it can vary. Okay, and there's certain factors that go into place. Like for example, for many of us, um, when we retire, uh, if we're fortunate, thank you, Dreamy. You will have your pension and you'll have Social Security. Okay. Now now depending on your pension, that will determine how old you have to be in order to get your pension, and it can vary. Okay. First of all, it all depends when you started saving for your pension. And also, it will vary because of certain ages. Now, certain um, people will retire at age 62. Now, what's the significance of 62? That is the earliest that you can legally file for Social Security. The thing is, it will be at a reduced rate. Okay. Now, for people who were born in 1960 and going forward, if you want to get full Social Security, you have to be 60. You have to wait until you're 67 years old um, to get Social Security, a full amount. So there are people who bless their hearts. They'll work until 70 or 80 years old. I am not planning to work that age. In fact, I'll be perfectly frank. I plan to retire at 65. Okay. Now the question is, why would I retire at 65? Okay. First of all, when I do retire, I will have three streams of income to live on for the rest of my life. You know what, Dreamy? In some places, it is 50. Okay, like for example, if you are in law enforcement, generally that's more or less when you can get retire with a full pension. Okay, but be it as it may. Now, the reason why I retire at 65. First of all, when I do retire, I'll have my pension, I'll have my Social Security, plus I'll have my 401k that I started like about 2 years ago. Okay. Now, the reason why I picked 65 is because at that point, I'll be making more money as a retiree instead of working a regular nine to five. That's the reason why. Good evening, April Showers. Thank you very much for stopping by. So the topic for tonight is when it is your time. In other words, when is your time to retire? Okay. And no one, okay. It depends on you. Um, What I will do is explain to you what some of the things you need to do in order to think of when you are approaching that age. Now, you should think about retirement ideally when you're in your 20s and 30s. That's the ideal. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's that time that you'll start preparing. So what you would do is, of course, you'll have your Social Security. But if you're fortunate, you will have a pension, or you will have like put in money for a 401k, which is a plan where you invest some of your money into a fund where you start receiving the proceeds when you retire. Okay. So I've taken a look at how much I'll get as a pension, how much I would get in Social Security, and how much I would get as my 401k. Now, I'm not going to say how much I'm going to make. No, I'm going to tell you, say, well, what's my annual salary? Because unfortunately, we're living in a world time where the sickos will love to dox your personal information. But at age 65, um, I will be making more money when I retire as compared to working. So that's one big factor. Okay. Also, another thing that's get this taken. This is something that I found out. When it comes to Social Security and your pension here in New York, you don't pay federal you don't pay federal income taxes on the income. You pay only local income taxes, which is if you ever live in New York, we pay a lot of taxes here. Okay. So that means after I retire, I won't have to pay federal income taxes on my pension, nor my Social Security. My 401k, I'll probably do, but it's not going to be that much. Also, every year, um, after that, there's a thing called a COLA, which is called cost of living adjustment. So every year, my retirement income will increase by a certain amount, because to try to keep up with inflation. Okay. Plus, I have here in New York City, we have what's called a Medicare reimbursement. So what that is, that you pay a certain amount for your Medicare coverage, and after the first year, that payment is reimbursed, goes back to you. You know what? I think we do. I think we do. First of all, because we pay for a lot of services. Okay. Not services for ourselves, but for other people as well. Good evening, Irby. Thank you very much for stopping by. So the topic for tonight is, when is your time? In other words, I'm talking about when it is your time to retire. Okay. So if you're smart, um, you'll start preparing for your retirement years ahead of time. And then that way, when it's come time to retire, you'll be able to live with a steady income. And of course, you got to try to live within your means. Okay. So basically, what's going to be your main expenditures will be, it's going to be your rent or your mortgage. It's going to be your food. It's going to be utilities and things of that nature. Okay. Now, what I plan to do when I retire, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to travel. Okay. And I definitely have a couple places that I want to go visit. I have been to South America. I have been to Central America. I have been to Canada. I have never been to Europe, but definitely I plan to visit Europe. Okay. And I'm definitely planning to visit Madrid and London. Why? It's just something about those cities that I love. Um, a lot of it has to do with ancient history and things of that nature. And I gotta admit, their version of Spanish is kind of unique. Okay. So there are different aspects when it comes to retirement. Now, I plan to lead a very active retirement when my working days are over. So I have a lot of things I plan to do. First of all, here in my neck of the woods, we have two senior citizen centers where I can go, and they have um, all sorts of activities. Sometimes they'll go on trips. Sometimes they'll have like talks regarding how to maintain your health and how to protect yourself um, from people that try to take advantage of the elderly. And of course, bingo. I mean, that seems to be the number one activity for the elderly. Um, but there's other things I plan to do. First of all, I'm still going to be active with my union. Okay. However, it will be as a retiree. Okay. So, of course, I'll be attending union meetings and things of that nature. And also, for municipal employees, there's an organization for retirees, which I plan to participate because they'll have activities and things of that nature. Another thing I'm thinking about doing, um, volunteering my time, um, like visiting patients in hospitals. Um, why? First of all, there are people that are hospitalized because they have all sorts of medical conditions. But the sad part is sometimes there are people in the hospitals that have no one that visit them. Okay, so just think about it. You're hospitalized because you have to have a procedure done. And one of the saddest things is that you are there, you're hospitalized, and no one comes to see you. That's very sad. Okay, so I plan to go to hospitals, visit them, um, spend some time, spend some time with them, maybe pray for them, things of that nature, or maybe just read, read a book with them, or whether, or just simply talk. Okay, um, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Something as little as spending um, like an hour or so visiting a patient in the hospital, how they will make up their day. Okay, because I remember um, where I was part of the group where we would go to one of the nursing homes here in the city, And what we would do is visit it. Okay. Yes, that's sad. The elderly are often are forgotten. So what we would do is we will talk to them. We will pray with them. We will give them like an encouraging word and things of that nature. We also will have services for the patients, um, because yes, many times, unfortunately, the elderly are forgotten. Okay, and when you think about it, the elderly are very lonely. Okay, because unfortunately, many of their friends, their loved ones, have passed away, and as you get older, more and more of the of your loved ones and close friends passed away, and it could be very depressing. Uh, while someone that's in their 70s or 80s or even 90s to be deprived of companionship, and depression really hits the elderly very hard. It is because of the fact that they are lonely, that no one comes in. And unfortunately, what people do is like they'll put their loved ones or so-called loved ones in a nursing home and forget about it. Okay. What they don't realize is eventually you're going to get old. And and I would not wish that on anybody. Not at all. There's a couple other things I plan to do to keep myself active. Um, One of them I'm thinking about seriously is becoming a deacon, um, a deacon in the church. And basically, what a deacon does is like, he's like, how could I explain it? Basically, they assist in services and things like that. They can pray. They can pray for people. They can lead in funeral services and things of that nature. But what I might may do is like the salary that I'll get as a deacon, I might donate it to a charity. What charity? I don't know. Um, Now another thing to bear in mind as you get ready for retirement is that you really need to be on top of your health. Okay. I'm not just talking about your physical health. I'm talking about your mental health. You need that. Okay. Because as you get older, uh, you develop multiple health issues if you're not careful. Okay. Issues with your sight, issue with your hearing, issue with your joints and things of that nature. Mhm. And the key to live in, you know, your elderly, your golden years, is to try to be as healthy as you can while you're young, and keep it up as you get older. That's why within the last several years, I've been focusing on trying to improve my health. Okay, which of course as a result, I've undergone certain procedures. I have knee replacement surgeries on both knees. I have also tried to lose weight. Now, actually, past weekend, I got on a scale and I'm down to 229 pounds, which means I've lost 55 pounds, which is a lot. Okay. And also not only that, I also changed my eating habits. First of all, avoiding fried foods as much as possible. Try to eat fruits, try to eat vegetables, things of that nature. And just other little things. Like for example, when I have waffles, I don't use syrup. What I might do is like put in like a sugar substitute, which is just as fine. Um, eat eat more chicken. Also take a lot. I take a lot of walks. Okay. When I'm at my job, what I will do is I will walk around the floor of my office, what- on my floor where I work, several times a day. Because what that does is it keeps me active. Because the worst thing you can do when you are recovering from knee replacement surgery is is sit behind a computer and not move. Exactly. And the good thing about walking, look, it's the fact every day you're doing some sort of physical activity. Okay, because look, you're moving your legs, you're moving your arms. Okay, and it helps clear your mind. So taking several walks is healthy for you. It's very healthy for you. Not just for your physical well-being, but your mental well-being. Because when you take a walk, it gives you a chance to clear your mind. Because sometimes we deal with um, unforeseeable situations. Okay, I agree. Okay, so there's certain things that you can do to make to make your retirement years productive. Make sure that you are on top of your health. Okay, and what I mean by that, make sure that you keep your medical appointments. Okay, and when you go for your medical appointments, um, if you develop any sick, okay, you know what? No problem. There'll be other times, Alexander. Okay. Um, what was I thinking? Oh, yeah. Um, if anything develop, like any medical concerns, be honest with your physician. Okay. Let them know everything, so the doctor can give you can diagnose an appropriate course of action. Make sure make sure that you have your vision checked at least twice a year. Make sure you have your teeth checked regularly. Make sure that you go for your regular checkups twice a year. Okay. Um, if you need to get your shots, whether it be the flu or things of that nature, make sure you get that done. Okay. Because believe me, when you are active, taking care of your health, um, you'll be able to fight off any medical conditions that will develop. Now, another thing, um, when we retire, it's an opportunity to engage in other activities, learn some crafts. Okay, okay. Like for example, you can develop stamp collecting. Okay, or you can spend your time visiting some of the cultural uh, areas of your city. Here in New York, we have museums galore. Not just museums galore, but also the other things. You can go to the theater. Many times, they'll have like elderly discounts. Okay, and sometimes certain restaurant chains, they will have discounts based on your age. Okay, like for example, here up on my way, we have a restaurant called Golden Corral, which is basically it's an all that you can eat buffet. So sometimes I will go there, and being that I'm over 60 years old, I pay a slightly lesser fee for the all you can eat buffet. Okay. Now, in all fairness, I don't eat as much food as I used to. Okay. Um, and it's by design. Okay. Because look, as much as I love food, I love my body even more. Okay. And there's and part of it is portion control. Okay. And what that means by that means you can you can eat almost anything that you wish, but just within reason. Okay. And certain things, there's certain things that are healthier choices. Like for example, instead of having fried chicken, you can always have baked chicken. Instead of loading up on rice, you can always load up on vegetables. Um, Instead of having cakes and ice cream, you can eat fruit. Okay. So, in other words, try to be smart about what you're eating. Okay. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with having some ice cream now and then, once in a while, or having something sweet to eat once in a while. It shouldn't be every day, though. Okay. And truth, truthfully, I don't go to fast food restaurants anymore. Uh, Part and a large part is because the quality of food is not very healthy. Because basically, I'm just eating empty calories. Uh, in my younger days, I wouldn't think twice to go to a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Wendy's. But now that I'm trying to develop a more healthier lifestyle, when I do go out to eat, it's usually a place where I know I'll be able to have make healthier choices as far as what I'm eating. Okay. Also, be mindful of your mental well-being. That's something that's very important. And one of the things you try to avoid is negative people, people who love to create drama. Okay, people who love to complain, and I mean complain. Okay, who nag. It's like no matter what, they don't have anything positive to talk about. It's always a problem. It's always a problem. Now, one thing I have learned that when it comes to people that do not have a positive thing to say, after a while, I will not engage. Okay? Because I don't want to become infected with the negativity. Now, of course, every time I close my streams, I always close it the same way. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged because if we fail to do so, we will be infected with a stupidity and mass insanity. I don't just say that just to be cute. I say it because the fact of the matter is not just here on this platform, but in our daily lives, there are people that love to create negativity. They talk negativity from from morning to night. I can never be that way. Okay, that's gonna. I mean, that's. I mean, because that's so taxing mentally to spend the whole day complaining, griping, whatever. Now I know that there are some people that when they get older, that's all they do. I'm not going to be that type of an elderly person. I'd rather be the type of an elderly person that, that stays positive. That if I can say an encouraging word, I will say it, and to enjoy life. Okay, because look, the average lifespan of a person is about 70 to 80 years old. Okay. And if you're fortunate, you may live to be to your 90s. Now, in the case of both my parents, my father was 83 years old when he passed away. My mother was 86 years old when she passed away. So both my parents had very long lives. However, um, my mother had some tragedy, okay, because she had buried four of her children before she passed away. And for a parent, that's one of the worst things that can happen because you expect the parent to go before the child. But the fact that my mother buried four of my siblings. But one thing I noticed about my mom, her her resiliency, it was there until the day that she passed away. And to me, my mom was a true heroine. And even when you know, when her health declined, and my mom became forgetful, her spirit was strong. Okay. And how she tried to maintain a certain sense of independence. But part of the tragedy that people face when you go on is the fact that, unfortunately, as you get older, you lose more and more of your loved ones. Okay, and that's the downside of retirement. But the upside is that by then you will have made new friends, um, who share your similar interests, and you learn to value friends. You learn to value those friends. And one of the reasons why it's called the golden years, because it's a time for reflection, the time to think about what you've been able to achieve. Like in my case, I was the first member of my family to graduate from college with a bachelor's degree. That's a big achievement, considering that my parents did not have much of a formal education. That's that's a major achievement right there. The fact that I have my own place, which I owned, that's another achievement. Also, the fact that I have led a long career as a municipal employee. Okay. And then in my time, I also developed um, a close community of friends from my union, friends from my church community, and of course the family that I have now. So you learn to value the people that you have in your life. Okay. Excuse me. I'm just checking and see if okay. Also, okay. And another thing when it comes to retirement, there's a certain freedom that's involved. Okay. And what is that freedom? First of all, that you don't have to commute to the city every day unless you want to. You don't have to clock in. Okay. You don't have to deal with toxic coworkers or a toxic work environment. You have the freedom to do whatever you wish, when you wish. And that's something that's wonderful. And I can just see it myself now. When I get ready to retire, I'm thinking about the old spiritual, which says, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And what is it I'm free? That when I retire, I don't have to work. I don't have to commute. I don't have duties to perform. That anything I do, it's gonna be my choice. And that's something and that's some of the beauty part of retirement. Okay. And the fact that you have been very productive in your time, and then you get to enjoy the fruits of your retirement. Okay. And that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, part of the people don't retire, or they take a long time to retire because they don't know what to do within some, they don't know how to occupy their time once their careers are over. Because for some people, their life is their job. They don't know anything else. And for some people, the prospect of retiring is scary because they don't know what to do. That's why I advise you, particularly if you're getting close to the time to retire, think about what activities that you're going to do once you retire. If there have been activities that you have been postponing to do, take advantage of it. Um, learn a trade. Um, take walks. Visit museums. Visit senior citizen centers. Um, form, be a part of a community. Okay, because when you do that and you're active in your retirement, you'll be surprised how quickly your day goes. But the sad part is this: that there are people are working, 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 and they delay retirement because they are afraid of the unknown. They are afraid of what to do once they retire. And I know people as a municipal employee. In fact, I have one person that's on my floor of my job. This person's already 70 years old, and this person, okay, look, why is someone that's 7 years old that's still working? Now I get it. You love your job and things of that nature, but you cannot you should not continue to work until you drop dead. Okay, but unfortunately, that's what happened with some of these people. They work, they work, they work, they work, and they don't retire until they die, or if they, or they become so sick that they have to retire. Not me. not me. I already decided, you know what? Once I hit 65, that's it. I'm going, look, because I figure with God's grace and mercy, I will have perhaps 5 to 15 years of my life where I'll be able to do what I want to do. Okay. And I can take advantage of the things that I didn't have an opportunity to do. Okay. I can take advantage and learn new hobbies. I can also learn new things, and I'm definitely going to travel. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to travel. Okay. So as you can see, I plan to lead a healthy and active retirement. And the key to do that is making sure that you eat healthy, making sure that you have activity, keeping yourself active. Okay, you know what? That's up to you. That's up to you. Okay. But in my case, once I get to 65, I'll start putting in my paperwork to retire. Because at that point, I'll be making more money retired. Okay. And another thing you bear in mind, when there comes a point when you work and work, um, it's almost like you're losing money because you can be making more, you can be getting more of an income when you retire. And this is if you plan your retirement well. Okay. Because like I said before, I will have my pension, I will have Social Security, and I'll have a 401k. So I will have three streams of retirement income, which means if I live no if no if I live within my means, I'll be able to live comfortably, reasonably well. Now, of course, of course, when you retire, you know, you're going to pay for your medical. You're going to pay for your medical coverage. You're going to pay for your rent or mortgage. You're going to pay for food. You're going to pay for utilities, gas, electricity, cable, what have you. But if you're smart, you also have what's called disposable income. And what that is, that's basically that's the income that you have left over after you pay your fixed your rent, your utilities, your food, and of course your medications. Because but believe me, as you get older, you're going to be taking more medication for the most part. But if you plan your retirement for your retirement and keep yourself physically active, you're going to enjoy your retirement. And you're gonna and think about all the new adventures that you're going to partake. Okay. Think of all the places that you go. And even if you're not the type of person that travel, there are plenty of places that you can go visit here in your local city. Okay. But one thing I know for sure, I'm going to take at least 2 to 3 trips a year once I retire. That's for sure. It might be Europe, or it might be just upstate New York. But I am definitely going to travel. I'm definitely going to get involved in recreational activities, and I'm going to live and enjoy my retirement. Okay, just give me a moment. Uh, yeah, I mean, let's just give me a moment. Just I okay. Sorry about that. It was just texting, but I'm definitely plan to lead a very active and productive retirement. Now, there are some people that might they might work, but it's a part-time job. So I might work part-time for my union. I don't know. But in any case, I'm definitely going to keep myself busy. Good evening, Georgia. Thank you very much for stopping by. So the topic for tonight is, when is your time? So I have been talking about um, how to prepare for retirement and what did you do when you have retired. Okay. I already made it perfectly clear. Um, I'm going to be 63 this October. So I plan to retire once I reach 65. Okay. And believe me, um, when I think about all the activities that I'm going to be able to partake as a retiree, I'm definitely going to travel. I'm definitely going to learn some new skills. I'm definitely going to go uh, visit the senior citizen centers over here, and I'm going to lead a productive and active retirement. Now, I have been talking for over an hour. So if anyone wants to hit that link and opine regarding the topic in hand, they can do so. If anyone just prefer to enter a comment in the chat, they can do so as well. If no one hits the link, or if there's no further comments, I will start to wrap this up. Now, I will be live tomorrow on my other channel, same time, 9:30, where I'm going to be talking about let's see, what's the topic? Just give me uh okay. Just give me a moment. I'm sorry. I usually don't text. Yeah. Okay. Okay, no problem. No problem. So, like I said before, I will definitely go do my best uh, to lead a calm and productive retirement. Now, I'm not gonna lie. This, I can just imagine um, what time retirement party I will get if I get one. I'm sure I will. Okay, it'll probably be something small at work. They'll probably give me like a card, and people will sign, and then I'll probably get um, people who will um, wish me well in my retirement. But you know what? I'm also prepared for people that going to who, for whatever reason, have not said a word to me or anything like that. And now, I mean, I can just imagine. First of all, I might get a phone call from my assistant deputy commissioner saying something to the effect, Mr. Negron, on behalf of the department, I just want to congratulate you on your retirement and you entering on the next phase of your life. And I trust you're going to enjoy your retirement. And I'll say thank you. Okay. And then I'll have my regional manager speak to me, basically say similar words to that effect. My site manager will say things, similar words. Also, my road chief. And then I'll have co-workers who for whatever reason have not spoken to me. All of a sudden, they're gonna come over to me and wish me happy retirement. So I know I'm gonna have to deal with some fake people. And you know what? I'm just going to say thank you, and because truth be told, I don't have to deal with those people again. Okay. Of course, I'm not going to be bitter. I'm going to be gracious and things of that nature. And I'm just say thank you. But I already know that on my retirement day, I'm gonna have to deal with a certain amount of BS. Basically, people who have not spoken to me in years, all of a sudden they'll say to me, "Oh, Jose, enjoy. I hope you enjoy your retirement, Jose. It's been a pleasure working with you, and it's good, you know." And one thing I know, I can tell people who are really genuine with me as compared to people who are not. Okay, but that's how it is. But in any case, I will um, start to wrap this up. But one thing I will say to you, particularly if you are in your 50s, definitely think about your retirement. Okay. But ideally, the time for you to think about your retirement is when you're young. Okay. And why I say that? Because you can stop, retirement accounts, whether it be your 401k or deferred compensation. Because some places they may not have a pension, but they may have 401k. They may not have a 401k, but they have uh, deferred compensation. Because realistically speaking, you cannot live on Social Security alone. Okay. Particularly when you take into account that you're going to be on fixed income until the day that you die. So you really should think about preparing yourself. But the beauty part is this: for those who have properly prepared, it's a glorious time because you are able to develop new hobbies. You are able to you know what? Basically, okay. Well, it's okay. Well, I first of all I started with the latest news regarding my one of my so-called ops, um, trying to call ICE on me because apparently this person think I'm undocumented, and I've seen this person not only had his channels deleted multiple times on YouTube, but somehow got himself kicked out of Rumble. So how on earth you get kicked out of two platforms? So basically, that's it. You're a two-time loser, and you're gonna talk about me being undocumented? Please. But that's neither here nor there. But other than that, basically, I just been talking about how to prepare for retirement and what to do once you have retired. Okay. Now, in your case, George, you have, yeah. Look, it's more deflection, deflection, deflection. But in the grand scheme of things, um, he's not as big as a threat as some of the other ops. Okay, so far. But in any case, he's known as Mister, and he's been banned from both my channels. But in any case, okay. Well, truthfully, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is studying to become a deacon. Okay. Truthfully, I don't really need it because I don't really need the salary that I would get as a deacon, but it will keep me active. So that's why I'm thinking about maybe donating some of my income as a deacon to some charities. Yes, I believe so. It will keep me active, and plus, I'll be able to serve the Lord. And that's something that's awesome. The fact that I'll be free to devote full time in ministry. That's something, and definitely that's definitely an uptick. And okay, but in any case, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it a night because even though I'm working remotely Monday and Tuesdays, I do have to go to bed. But um, what's my final words? Um, yeah, that's definitely. Um, the key is preparation for retirement, not just as far as the financial side, but as far as activities that you could indulge, that you can participate in once you retire. Okay, and a huge shout out to those who watch it. And of course, you're all more. You can share the stream um, because this is basically just to give you information to consider. Okay, so with that being said, I will be dealing with. Let's see, just give me a moment. Unfortunately, I'm having a senior moment right now, so I'm going to be dealing with depression in the Latino community. So I'm going to be talking about that. And on Thursday, um, just give me Thursday, I'm going to be talking about how to keep yourself stress free. Okay. Yes. Oh, if that's, you know what, if that's, and that's in the good Lord's plan, amen. Definitely. But, but in any case, I will wrap this up. So my final words is do prepare for your retirement. And once you do, you're going to learn to enjoy it. Yes, I think Sarah was like 90 years old or 100 when she gave birth to Isaac. I do not intend to father a child at 90 years old. That's assuming I live to be 90 years old. But in any case, I'm going to close the same way that I always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we would be infected by the stupidity and massive insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, saying good night, take care, stay blessed, and peace.